Welcome back to Wallbuilders. Thanks for staying with us. Christian Adams is with us. He's president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation, working on the election integrity issue, which everybody is concerned about. Christian, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the most often comment I get from people is that the system's broke. There's no point in voting. You know, we can never fix it, which, of course, we don't agree with around here. We think we work on it and make it better, and that's something that you're doing. So tell us a little bit about how you guys are doing that.
Right. Well, that attitude sounds like a French surrender monkey, right? That doesn't work.
That's right.
So, look, here's what we're doing. We're bringing lawsuits around the country when governments or states don't follow the law, like we did in Delaware when they were doing illegal mail voting. The Delaware Constitution doesn't allow it. So we got it struck down as unconstitutional against the Constitution of Delaware. So no mail voting in Delaware because of that.
Excellent.
We're suing states like Michigan who have dirty voter rolls. There's dead people on the active voter rolls who died 30 years ago, and they're still on the rolls in Michigan. So there's things that can be done. You just have to do them.
How do you, well, I guess, back up and show us how do you start that process? Like, if someone knows something like that is happening in their state, they just contact you and say, hey, have you looked into my particular area in my state? I mean, is that how you end up getting a lot of these cases?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on which state, but you're right. You basically do analysis of the voter rolls, for example, in Michigan, and discover all these problems with dead registrants. In places like, New York City, we're suing over allowing non-citizens to vote there. That's just in the news, and you find out. But we've done work along the Rio Grande Valley, down in Zavala County, Starr County, where you just see there's problems, and you go to court to fix them.
What do you see as the most important fights? Like, what are the linchpins or the inflection points for turning this thing around where we can have faith in our elections again?
Yeah, the biggest issue, I think, in the last 30 years is the problem of non-citizens getting on the voter rolls. That's why we're litigating in Pennsylvania. That's why we won a case in North Carolina to get records related to this problem. In Pennsylvania, it is a fact, not a conspiracy theory, but a fact according to election officials that anywhere between 10,000 and 100,000 foreigners got on the voter rolls in Pennsylvania for the last 25 years. We want to know how that happened, why that happened, what did they do to fix it. That's why we're litigating in court for the records. But it's a fact that this happened, and I think it's the biggest problem in the country. I think that's why California transformed the way it did, is because of non-citizens voting in California elections. It's not always part of a conspiracy. Sometimes it's just a breakdown, and I think it's breaking down all over the country. We know it happened in North Carolina. We know it's happening in Texas. We know it happens in Pennsylvania. So I think that is our number one problem.
And what's the key? Tell me again now, what's the key to reversing it?
Yeah, the key, and it should have happened. It should have happened in the last administration, but didn't. And that is for the federal government to make available in a real and effective way the names of non-citizens that they have in their SAVE database at DHS, people who are in the immigration system. The federal law requires the federal government to make it available, but in practice, they make it almost impossible to use. And so even during the last administration, where this should have been a no-brainer, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, was not making it available to the states to use in an effective way to figure out who the non-citizens were on the voter rolls.
That's interesting. That's the exact opposite of where my brain went, right? I was thinking, okay, you got to prove you are a citizen. What you're saying is you end up with a list that clearly says you are not a citizen, and therefore you're saying then the state basically bumps those lists up next to each other and says when that person registers, they're able to look at that and go, no, sorry, this is one thing you can't do here. You're welcome to work here, and you're welcome to do the things that you've been allowed to do as a legal citizen, as a legal immigrant coming in, but you cannot vote. It's literally a disqualification list, essentially.
Right, because don't forget, under Motor Voter of 1993, whoever fills out that form that says, yes, I want to vote, is going to get on the voter rolls automatically. There's no front-end citizenship validation anywhere in the country. You can't do it. It's against federal law. If they fill out that form that says, yes, I'm a citizen, and then they sign it, then they have to go on the voter rolls. And a lot of these non-citizens are just flashing through the form. It's like, you're at like a supermarket checkout, just where you have your credit card in the machine. It's like, do not remove. Oh, wait, now remove. It all happens so fast that they don't pay attention. And that's how aliens are getting on the rolls.
Wow. Okay. And then how do you have any kind of a quantification? Like, can we measure that right now? Do you have estimates of how many are on the rolls and how many are actually voting?
That's why the Pennsylvania lawsuit that we're involved in is so important, because we know it's somewhere between 10,000 and 100,000 in Pennsylvania.
Wow, that's the difference.
Well, except Pennsylvania has more tie elections than any other state. They've got a couple hundred tie elections in Pennsylvania. So even if you had one alien on the voter roll, it could be making a difference. But in Pennsylvania, we know it's a problem. We're trying to get to the bottom of it so we can learn so it doesn't happen in other states.
I love it. I love it. Man, this is such important work, Christian. How can people support you and what you're doing?
Well, we're a tax-deductible charity. It's 501c3. You can go to publicinterestlegal.org.
Publicinterestlegal.org. Publicinterestlegal.org. So tax-deductible contribution there. And then if they have, I'm assuming you're going all over the country. So if they have a potential, situation in their state, they can send that to you?
Absolutely. Be happy to talk.
All right. So tell me before I let you go, what would you say are your top three cases right now that you're working on?
Well, the New York citizen allowing aliens to vote is a big deal. Maryland is actually allowing children to vote for school board. You heard that correct. The connection was not bad. They're allowing kids as young as sixth grade to vote for a school board seat in Maryland. We're sitting there. Yeah. It's coming to a town near you. Don't think it's an outlier. This is very important to people to have children voting. And we're in a fight with Michigan over dirty voter rolls. We've got like 14 active lawsuits, but I think those are our three biggest.
Oh, keep going then, man. This is incredible. So wait, we've got you got a suit to stop illegals from voting in New York. You got a suit to stop kids from voting. I have not heard that. I can't believe that. Okay, so kids voting in Maryland. The third one was
Michigan. Lots of dead registrants, dead voters on the rolls. And we've been in litigation with Michigan to try to get that cleaned up.
And that one would affect. Is that a federal suit? So it could potentially affect other states too, and allow you to use that as a club to make them do the right thing. Okay, give me a couple more, man. Sounds like you got some incredible suits going.
Well, I mean, we have 4 cases against states that hide election records, namely Colorado, D.C., Alaska, Louisiana. They're part of something called ERIC. And they're not allowed to give up any of their records if they're a member of ERIC. It's like being in a secret club. You can't comply with public information laws.
Drill down on that one for a second. So you're saying, like, after the fact, you want to investigate whether or not the election was accurate. They don't release any of the information.
Yeah, the stuff they use to keep the voter rolls clean, like the records, who did you remove, who do you think is dead, who's a non-citizen. All of the tools that they use are public under federal law, but these states that I just named, Alaska, Louisiana, Colorado, D.C., which of course is not a state, but bear with me.
Yeah.
They are part of an agreement called ERIC to hide public records. And so we're trying to have that agreement declared illegal under federal law so the public can see what's actually going on.
Yeah, that would prevent the very thing, the first time I saw this really becoming an issue was 2008, I guess it was, with Catherine Engelbrecht in Houston. I remember doing a Constitution class for her group there for True the Vote. I mean, they were literally going in and able to use the public records to help clean up the voter rolls, get the people off that had died, all of those things. What you're saying is in those 4 states, you can't do that. You don't have access as a volunteer group to go in and do that.
That's right. They hide these records from the public, and that's why we're suing to break it down.
Man, you got a lot going on, brother. Man, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you to all the people that support you and allow it to allow you to be able to do this good work. How would you end this, for our listeners in terms of hope to have faith in their elections again? Is this I keep telling everybody, look, this is a 10-year fight, 20-year fight. This is not going to end overnight. We're going to have to scratch and claw in the trenches for a while to turn this thing around because there's some bad apples out there and there's some bad entrenchments within the system. What are you thinking timeline-wise to get people back to having faith in elections again?
Well, it's already improving. I mean, I think we're going to have to do some more things on making sure Election Day means Election Day, that we don't wait for a month for results. I think that's the next big fight, and I know we'll be involved in that fight. So I think that things are better than they were in 2020. But if you don't participate, you surrender the system to people who disagree with you. It's that simple.
Yes. Yeah. Amen. All right, brother. I told you I'd keep you 10 minutes, so I would love to have have you back on and talk about. I'd love to talk about what it means to have an election day. What's the constitutional definition of that, and how we've gotten to having an election month instead of election day, and how to get away from that. Do you think there's any chance of that? I mean, can we get back to that?
Well, let's. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but that's what we're going to try to accomplish.
Excellent. Christian, thank you, man. Have a great day. Appreciate you coming on.